Good almost afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Brands Hatch for rounds 13 and 14 of the Milltek Sports Civic Cup. We're not quite at rounds 13 and 14 just yet. We are actually just about to go into qualifying. They have already had FP1, and in fact that is the only FP that they are able to have this weekend. My name is Jack Oliphant. Andy McEwen and Paul O'Neill unfortunately not able to be here this weekend, but their loss is my gain because I get to be at the beautiful Brands Hatch at the Go Japan Festival as well. It's a brilliant atmosphere here today, and you can already see that we're already got cars out there on circuit, and this is actually the Civic Cup that are out there in their qualifying time already, so we're a bit ahead of schedule, but we're not here to complain about that. It's better than being behind, isn't it, at the end of the day? We have got a fair few championship contenders. We have slightly less drivers than we did when the Civic Cup visited Brands Hatch a couple of months ago. We had about 30 odd cars. I think we had 33 in total. Well, today we've got 18, which is still a healthy number here to pound round the Brands Hatch Indy circuit, not the GP. So the Indy circuit, which quite often brings up some surprises, a few incidents here and there, but hopefully we won't see any of those. As I mentioned, this is qualifying. It's a 15-minute qualifying session. They have two races as well, both 15 minutes, the second of which is a reverse grid. So yeah, please do stick around. The first race is due to be up at around about 2:15. Obviously that is a little bit in the air, shall we say, whether we're ahead or behind. It's been around that time. And then the second race of the day has been moved to around 6 o'clock. I think it's 5 to 6. It's down in the timetable. If you saw the timetable a couple of evenings ago, it would have been about 5 o'clock, but they've actually moved a few things around as we got closer to the time. Right, let's have a little bit of a focus on the cars that are actually out there on circuit, because they've done one or two warming up laps. Of course, this is Brands Hatch Indy. The lap times are very, very quick indeed, so it does take a couple of rotations to get the cars up to temperature and the drivers up to rhythm as well. They were out there. Oh, and there's a big slide and a bit of a, well, I don't know if that actually hits anything. It's just a slide, the number 70. That's Owen Hillman, I believe that is. It's a bit of a shame for the Pro Alloys driver. He seems to be slowly, that's around Druids. Now that's on the entry to Druids. It's not the best place you want, because if he goes any further, he's almost going to be on the apex, who's a little bit blind. A lot of cars getting out of the way. Looks like he's managed to get the car under power, so fingers crossed he can get that back going, and we won't see any sort of red flags or anything like that. A couple of yellow flags, and if anybody's unfamiliar with the rules of racing and qualifying, you are not allowed to go faster on a lap which has a yellow flag on it, because obviously you're supposed to slow down for any spinning cars. Make sure that you don't hit them, so fingers crossed we don't see any advantages gained there. Shouldn't do, because he's parked on the apex. This is the sixth weekend, sorry, I should say, for the Civic Cup, but it is going to be round 13 and 14. If you're into the Civic Cups, then we're on the penultimate round as well. The last one is going to be with the TCRs, which haven't made their way down to Brands Hatch today, but they will be at Snetterton. That's the grand finale for the Civics and the TCRs. Right, that's all the preliminary stuff out of the way now. We've had, normally we would do this in a bit of a build-up, but we've had about 4 or 5 minutes into it, and we've already got our championship leader and reigning champion, Alistair Camp, who's currently on pole position. We can see him going through Surtees and Clark curve now. Nicely got that hooked up, the area motorsport driver with the number 1 on his car. As we see another spin, that's Will Redford, number 42 for the Pro Alloys. Again, a couple of the Pro Alloys in the wars somewhat. I don't think they've actually hit anything. They do seem to have had a few pirouettes here and there, which is a bit of a shame. And there appears to be someone off at turn 1, and indeed there is. I can see him outside of my commentary box, but unfortunately the Brands Hatch gantry is right where the car is parked, so unfortunately you won't be able to see the car, but I'll see if I can get any information. There is the number 51, Daniel McNauls for Kinetic Motorsports, and it looks like he's just got his braking zones a little bit wrong. Probably over-rotated the rear end, maybe locked the diff or something, I'm not entirely sure, but he's gone straight on. Don't think he's hit the wall or anything, so we won't have any tyre repairs, but we do have a red flag. And so even though it felt a little bit rushed at the beginning of the session, trying to give you all the information all at once, we now have an opportunity to just chill out a little bit. So the cars will drive background. They'll probably enter the pit lane. In fact, I can see them out the left-hand side of the commentary booth. They are entering the pit lane. They'll chill in there, and I don't suspect that the time will restart. We were slightly ahead of schedule, which is nice, so we have a couple of minutes to play with. Right, shall we go through the order as it stands? Because, as I said, we felt a little bit rushed before, so we'll try and get it all up to date for you. If I just get my live timing up, because it doesn't appear to be on the screens in front of me. But you can see on the left-hand side, Alistair Camp. He's on pole position, but it is marginal. Dan Thackeray, who is currently third in the championship, actually, is Dan. He's only 0.03 of a second behind the reigning champ. We've got Morgan Bailey in third place. Again, less than 1/10 of a second. Actually separate the top four, with Jack Harding in there in the 43 machine. Now, Jack Harding, he's had a smattering of appearances here in the Civic Cup this season. We did actually have a chat to him, and there is an interview that is available on, it might not be up yet, but we have recorded one, so it will be there at some point on the Milltek Sports Civic Cup Facebook page. I had a lovely chat to Jack, and he was very gentleman in the fact that he was sort of open to what was a bit of an introductory championship. He's fully aware that he is not in a championship fight because he missed a few rounds, but he is hoping to gain the money and gain the momentum to potentially take a charge to the title for next season. And he's clearly got the pace here, because he's within 1/10 of the current reigning champion, and he's sat currently in 4th place. Will Redford, who we saw having a little bit of a moment, I believe it was through Clark Curves, he is currently sat in 5th, the Reese Heath-based motorsport driver. Reese Heath is the college. He's based in Warrington, I believe. This is his first full season of racing for Will Redford. I believe he's only 17, might be 18 now. He was 17 when I met him earlier the season at Cadwell Park. But Will Redford, yeah, certainly one to be keeping an eye out on. Very fast young driver, a little bit inexperienced, but that's, at the end of the day, you got to start from somewhere. Matt Love, 2nd in the championship, currently 6th in session. Now, there is a long way to go in this current session, so Matt Love won't be too worried about that, but he'll have been hoping to potentially get a lap in beforehand. What is quite common around Brands Hatch Indy is, unfortunately, the track is so small that you get quite a lot of traffic, and if you don't get a clean lap when your car's up to temperature and everything like that, then it is a little bit of a struggle to try and get a really quick qualifying time in. And now, with only 9 minutes and 45 seconds to go, it's going to be even tighter. I can see that the leaf blowers are currently trying to blow all the rubble from the outside of Paddock Hill Bend back onto the outside, into the gravel trap. So the car has been recovered. McDonald's car, I don't think it's on the back of a flatbed. It might have even gotten back under its own steam, but it looks like it's trying to shake out some gravel and the outside of Druids. So thank you very much to Mr. McDonald for depositing his debris, shall we say, on the outside of a corner rather than on the racing line. Plenty of drivers over the years I've seen just depositing it on the apex, which is never helpful for anybody. And you can see the leaf blowers there that I was mentioning on your screen. But the whole host of Civic Cup cars down in the pit lane. Simon Welch, we also had a lovely chat with him. Apparently it was the first time in 8 years of racing that anybody has been able to nail him down for an interview. So I will take that. Andy McEwen never managed that, did he? Hey, there you go. I'm kidding, I do love Andy. But yeah, Simon Welch, he did a very good interview for a driver who was always a little bit camera shy. He was very genuine and a lovely chap to talk to as well. And hopefully we'll see him potentially in the next season as well. He's in the production class. He's actually the only driver that we have in the production class that we actually had a chat to earlier on in all the various social media interviews that we did. But we will be having a chat to the pole position driver from Cup class and production class when it comes down to the checkered flag, not the red flag, obviously, of this particular session. While we have you, we might as well bring you up to date with the championship standings as well. Now, you may have seen a little bit of a preview if you're following the Civic Cup on social medias. You may have seen, I may have mentioned it earlier on because I did do it all in a little bit of a rush. But I can tell you that Alistair Camp is currently not only the reigning champion, but he is also the current leader in the championship as well, going into what this is, the penultimate weekend. Now, they are allowed drop scores, so keep that in mind. They are allowed drop scores, but Alistair Camp has actually used quite a lot of his drop scores already. He's pretty much used them all. He hasn't got any second chances now. He needs to perform well this weekend. On the other hand, though, Matt Luff, who's been pretty consistent in terms of when he's been on the podium. He's only taken one race victory, but he's been second or third in pretty much every other race. He's nearly always been in the top 5. I think he's only been outside the top 5 twice, potentially 3 times actually. So, but his bad rounds are better than Alistair Camp's bad rounds, if you get my gist. So on drop points, Alistair Camp 197, Matt Luff 186, just 11 points between them. As we're seeing one of the Pro Tyres cars spinning his wheels up to maybe see if there's anything loose. Maybe he felt a little bit of a snag on the left-hand side. That's number 70, isn't it? Which is Owen Hillman. Another one. As the cars have gotten back out. Now, it still says red flag on the top, and Hillman's car is still, it's not the jacks. The bonnet is going down and being secured. So hopefully we'll see Hillman out there on circuit as the rest of the cars flood their way over. So we're back underway for this qualifying session. Again, even though the cars will have been rotating for 5 minutes, they will have just taken, they'll take another lap potentially to get back up to speed, and the drivers will have to sort of re-engage on the adrenaline and make themselves up for this particular qualifying session. It was always quite hard for a driver. I always found it quite hard as well. If there was an interruption in a session and you had to sort of, you went from the highs and lows of the anticipation, the excitement to be able to go into a session, and then all of a sudden it gets red flag, you sort of build yourself up, you're getting into a rhythm, and all of a sudden it ends prematurely, and then you have to go back out there and do it all again. It's a bit of a roller coaster of emotions for the adrenaline. Before they do get fully back going, though, I will remind you of the other 2 drivers that are technically in the championship hunt, but realistically they're probably fighting for 3rd at this point. It's Morgan Bailey and Dan Thackeray. Morgan Bailey in 3rd, Dan Thackeray in 4th. They're separated by only 6 points. Morgan Bailey on 178, Dan Thackeray on 172. Now there is an opportunity for them to get involved in the championship running. Realistically, it is a bit of a long shot for them. There have to be a lot to go right, and I think they basically have to have Alistair Camp have a bit of a mare, not only this weekend, but the finale at Snetterton, at Snetterton 200 as well. They're not allowed to drop scores at Snetterton either, so this is a very, very important weekend when it comes down to the championship for Alistair Camp, that's for sure. There's number 71. Now, that's an interesting car because that is Josh Harvey. Had a chat with Josh Harvey as well. You can catch him in the interviews on the Facebook page. We had a chat to 5 in total. Max Edmondson is the only driver that I haven't mentioned so far that we had a chat to. With Josh Harvey, yeah, in the number 71. Now, the Pro Alloy 71, very cool car because it is a guest car. Now, you may have seen it if you were at Brands Hatch a couple of months ago and you think, I've seen the Civic Cup before. Saw it at Brands Hatch. Well, that's because it was being piloted by Ben Sharp. All those months ago, I should say, actually, and it took a race victory. I believe it was in the second race, in the reverse grid race, Ben Sharp took that victory, but yeah, Sharp was a proven race winner in the Civic Cup previous to jumping in it, so I did tease Josh Harvey with that a little bit. He said he's hoping for a race victory. He's not exactly expecting one, but again, those reverse grids can really come up trumps. Morgan Bailey's gone to the top of the timing, and he's done it by 200ths of a second ahead of the number 1, Alistair Camp, as I believe Redford has just got ahead of Harding, Edmondson's just gone ahead of Caton, and things are starting to shape up as we go into the sort of sharper end of this particular qualifying session. 7 minutes and 10 seconds to go. Caton's gone ahead of Edmondson, and there is McDonald. Now, he was the cause of the red flag that we saw earlier on at the outside of Paddock Hill Bend. The driver taking a picture, which you might think that's not the ideal thing to do when you've just had a bit of an off. I'll be honest, I used to do that as well. So it's just one of those things. It's yeah, you want to make sure that your social media fans are up to date with what's going on, even if it's not exactly ideal. So just trying to my live timing to work, but it doesn't seem to want to connect to the internet for the time being, my laptop, so keeping an eye on the left-hand side of the screen. Matt Luff seems to be trying to go quite a little bit quicker as green sector, but it's just been beaten again. Morgan Bailey's just extended his lead. Dan Thackeray's just got into second place, third position in fact, actually, but he is only 0.06 of a second behind Alistair Camp. So the Morgan Bailey really setting the pace here. Matt Luff struggling a little bit, but it's better than where he was when the red flag came out. Will Redford, 5th in the championship, 5th on the road at the moment. If we look at the production class as well, Alfie Jenkins currently leading that from Louis Hansel and then Simon Welch. Now, there are the top 3 in the production class. The championship is Alfie Jenkins, it is Louis Hansel, and it's Mark Hughes. Unfortunately, Mark Hughes able to be here this weekend, so a bit of a shame for Mark, but it does give Simon Welch an opportunity to potentially charge up the order. He said he's done the maths. Apparently, Mark Hughes would have to score 0 on all 4 of the remaining races, and Simon Welch would have to win all 4 of the remaining races for him to have a chance at that 3rd place, but you never say never. Yellow flag, it appears. It's Druid. Wonder if we can have a see what's going on at Graham Hill Bend. That would cause... now there's, I believe, Reese Lewis in the number 44. Now, he had a bit of a problem in practice, and it looks like that problem hasn't made it any better. He's not actually even on my entry list. He was that much of a late entry into this weekend. He was in South Wales yesterday morning, and he decided, you know what, I want to go racing at Brands Hatch. So he decided to load the car up, get down here, and unfortunately, it's not gone particularly well for Reese. I don't suspect that we'll see that car have a very healthy weekend at all. One driver who's all of a sudden turned his weekend around, though, well, it wasn't looking particularly poor in the first place, but is Matt Luff. He's just gone into 2nd, and most importantly, he's gone ahead of Alistair Camp. Morgan Bailey is absolutely flying. He's just set another fastest lap of the race, I believe. Yeah, Luff gone very quickly indeed, and just having a look, Harding's gone a little bit quicker, 53.35. Luff with a 53.17, but Bailey with a 53.093. Absolutely flying is Bailey. Matt Luff will be pleased with that one. He'll want that pole position, but he'll be well aware that anything that's ahead of Alistair Camp is really what he wants to achieve here. Oh, and Alistair Camp actually with a very late dive into the pit lane. I don't know if that was particularly planned. They don't have radio, so it's not like he would have got a late call. This isn't Formula 1 that we've got here in the Civic Cup, although the racing is quite often more exciting. But a very, very late call to jump into the pits there, almost locking up the rear right. And we quite often see puffs of smoke from front-wheel drive cars on the rear tyres whenever they're turning a sharp corner, but that one did look a touch unplanned, I would say. So having a look at the sector times, Alfie Jenkins did go a little bit quicker then on his sector 1. Just seeing if his times improved, not quite. The production class is does tend to be quite a lot slower than the Cup. They are in slightly different cars. It's the number 70. I think that's Hillman, isn't it? We saw Hillman a little bit of a problem. But yeah, the Cup category cars are just quicker and than the production category cars. And just trying to have a look to see if Hillman's car, there wasn't anything evidently wrong with it, but it does seem to be coming in for another look for the team. There are quite a few Jordan Brennans in the pit lane as well, which is a bit of a shame. I think it's Jordan Brennan, actually. No, it might not be. It's the 33, actually. It's Max Edmondson. Max Edmondson is in the pit lane, as well as a whole host of other cars. Can't quite see the number of, so I'll keep you up to date with who they might be as and when they leave the pit lane. Here is the 71 of Josh Harvey. Like I mentioned, he is a guest driver in this particular race. He was quite accustomed to Castle Combe, apparently. He raced in the BMW Compact Cup for a number of years with Simon Welch as well. Decided that he Pro Alloys, they got in touch with him. They said, would you like to have a little bit of a guest round at some point during the season? He managed to nail down this date, and he seemed to be very much looking forward to it, and I don't really blame him, to be honest. It's a fantastic championship to be involved in, and a brilliant place to be getting to grips with the Civic Cup as well, and the front wheel drive. Apparently the majority of his racing has all been rear wheel. He was in a little bit of open wheel, he's done a lot of karting, and a lot of obviously the BMW Compact Cup, like I mentioned before. So front wheel drive Civic Cup, definitely a different challenge, which is what seems to attract quite a lot of people actually when they want something different. This is Hillman. Now, I don't believe he's come into the pit lane because he wants to have a look at his social media feeds. If he does, I'd probably get back out there, Owen, because he's got a minute and a half to try and set some fastest lap times. Where is he staying at the moment? He's down in 16th, 2.8 seconds off pole position, and behind a number of the production category cars. So something is not quite right with that Pro Alloys car. I'm sure, though, the Pro Alloys will get onto that. They'll be able to fix it up. very reliable team, actually. You can just ask Will Redford that, because he has changed to Pro Alloys, and ever since going there, seems to have been very happy about it. He did set some track limit warnings. He got called to the clerk of the course after the practice, but he did seem to manage to... He came out with a smile on his face, so I assume that meant it wasn't all bad. There is Jordan Brennan. I got him mixed up with Max Edmondson just before, but he is out there on circuit. He's currently in 12th place, 1.2 seconds away from Morgan Bailey. Jordan Brennan and Max Edmondson, actually, I sort of throw them under the same blanket because they're both extremely fast sim racers. Jordan Brennan particularly, he's a bit of an alien when it comes to the sim, and that's actually where I came across him the first time round. Your usual commentator, Andy McEwen, and I both commentate on a Wednesday night for a company called VRRC, or a community called VRRC, and Jordan Brennan was certainly one of the drivers that we always look forward to seeing, and he was always at the front end of the order as well. 33, Max Edmondson, like I just mentioned. I was about to compliment Max Edmondson, how he was always at the front end of those sim races as well. Unfortunately, he's a little bit too far in the gravel there, going through Paddock Hill. He has managed to get it back going, which is quite nice and polite of him. So, yeah, the session can continue as the checkered flag. We've counted down to 0, so drivers should be finishing their current lap. The checkered flag is dropping. But Morgan Bailey still on pole position. Matt Luff still in 2nd place, but there we go. Harding jumps up ahead of Alistair Camp, and Matt Luff, I tell you what, Harding will be getting a Christmas card of Matt Luff, I imagine, as they go out of this qualifying session. When we were last here at Brands Hatch, I did mention this in the preview, so if you've already heard the statistic, then I do apologise, but in the first 5 rounds of this championship, we had 5 different winners. The first driver to get a double race victory in a season was Alistair Camp, and it was here at Brands Hatch. Can history repeat itself? Will we see another Alistair class? We'll have to wait and see. But at the moment, he's going to have to do it from 4th position, and I believe that is everybody over the start-finish line. The lap does get completed quite quickly here. So the order, the top 10, is Bailey, Luff, Harding, Camp, and Thackeray, your top 5. Then Redford down in 4th, and then that's quite a big gap between 5th and 6th, actually. The top 5 separated by under 2 tenths, and then you've got to go about 3 tenths down the road before you find Will Redford. In 7th is Caton, 8th is Edmondson, who's had a few offs, Cripps in 9th, and Harvey rounds out your top 10. And in the production class, it's Louis Hansel will be, in theory, on pole position, because they do start as a separate grid. Jenkins in 2nd, and Welch will be in 3rd place. A couple of drivers having a few issues, unfortunately, Hillman and Lewis in particular. And obviously McDonald, even though he's qualified in 11th place, he did that within the first 5 minutes of the qualifying session. And he didn't, I don't know if he managed to get back out though. I think his car has been parked for the entirety of the last 10 minutes. I think if you cause a red flag, what tends to be to happen is you're not allowed back out. Right, I have got to go very quickly, run downstairs, because I'm going to interview P1 for the Cup class and the production class. So I'll be back with you in a couple of minutes.
For voice and data solutions at speeds that are simply out of this world, choose Maximum Networks.
And I join you now down, I can hear myself, that's a bit off-putting. I'm down in the pit lane and I've actually got two pole sitters. I've got Morgan Bailey to start with. Morgan, congratulations on the pole position. That must have been, well, every single lap you seem to be getting quicker and quicker.
Yeah, we set a good time in practice. It was trying to repeat that in qualifying, but with traffic and then a red flag, we struggled just to get a clean lap in. I kept making little mistakes, and little mistakes around here, tenths of a second, and that you can't have that. It has to be bang on. So we kept at it. Thankfully, the tyres held out for the 15 minutes. We managed to get a lap in that I was happy with. Only 2 laps from the end, so we just did it, yeah.
There's an outside chance for a championship, isn't there, for you? You're in 4th place. Obviously, Dan Thackeray's probably the most immediate aim for you. A pole position, good momentum. You must be feeling confident that you can put the pressure on.
Yeah, I mean, it's not very often we're on pole. But, yeah, hopefully, good start and see how it gets on. But yeah, it's good for the championship.
That red flag, you quickly mentioned it then, we'll quickly mention it again. How hard is it to build up that momentum, that anticipation to get out there and start performing, and then all of a sudden, red flag, and you have to do it all again?
Yeah, it's difficult because you've got a clear space on track, then you've red flag coming to the pit lane, and you've a stream of cars going out one after the other. So we managed to find a bit of clear track, and got the lap in, yeah.
Well, fantastic. Congratulations. We might be speaking to you after race 1, but a good pole position lap time. And I've got another driver, and we've got his car here as well. Louis Hansel, congratulations on pole position for the production class.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a good session. Started out a bit weirdly because the conditions are different to earlier. It's a lot hotter, which really changed the dynamic of the car and the track. And then the red flag came out, obviously, and I didn't actually mind that because it let the car cool down a bit, and then it goes from a 15-minute session to a 10-minute session essentially, which really helped. And then I don't know what lap I got pole lap on because I don't have a lap timer or anything in there. So yeah, I'm really happy with that.
So are you just going around blind? You don't have any kind of timing system?
Yeah, I've always had no timing system throughout my whole career, and I'm doing all right without one. So yeah, I'm going to keep it like that.
Doing more than all right. Maybe that's what I should have done, because I always had a timing system. You just end up looking at the time, don't you? So, so is that sort of something you've actually actively asked for?
Indirectly, sort of. So I started last year in juniors in a Saxo, and I wasn't given one, and I didn't really think much of it. And then throughout this year, I've just thought that not that I don't need one. It might help. Yeah. So yeah, I just don't have one for, well, it just works for me, and it's just distracting. Like I hear my other teammates say that they're looking at it constantly, and it seems distracting, and I've just never had it, and I can focus on the driving, which is the important part.
How old are you? I mean, just out of your mouth, obviously. How old are you? Because that's a very mature sort of way of approaching the qualifying session. Just go out, do what you need to do, and don't worry about anything else.
I'm only 17 years old, and actually, I've recently been accepted to Motorsport UK Academy up in Loughborough, so they're helping me out as well. It's a 20-person course out the whole country, and I managed to get onto it, so I'm really proud about that as well.
Well, if they saw that lap, then I'm sure they won't be regretting their decision. Good luck for the rest of the weekend, Louis. I'm sure we'll be speaking to you later on. Right, that's all that we have time for with the Milltek Sports Civic Cup qualifying session. You can tune in for race 1 and race 2 later in the day. I'm sure if you subscribe to wherever you're watching this from, Alpha Live or Civic Cup YouTube channel, you'll get a notification. So please do tune in at 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock.